big hello to everyone watching. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening based on where you're joining from. And welcome to the highly anticipated kickoff of the second edition of Citizen Development Week 2024. I am Misha and I am going to be your host for today. Before we dive into the rich discussions ahead, let's take a moment to appreciate the essence of citizen development. Citizen development is like opening a gateway to a digital wonderland where every individual becomes a potential innovation architect, regardless of their technical know how. It's about empowering employees at every level of your organization to dream, create, and implement solutions to their everyday challenges without the need of extensive coding knowledge or IT support. Imagine a world where ideas come to life at the speed of thought. Innovation thrives in every corner of your company, and where every individual is not just a technology user but a creator shaping the digital landscape. That's the magic of citizen development. Over the next few days in CDW, we'll dive into a diverse world of citizen development, exploring its many facets and discussing these strategies, challenges, successes that define it. So, without any further ado, let us begin. First, please allow me to welcome our first keynote speaker, Mr. John Reimer, to the screen. Although John needs no introduction, it's worth highlighting his influence in the field. He's not just an expert, but he's the visionary who coined the term low code and ignited a revolution in the digital sphere. In his presentation today, John will lead us through the remarkable evolution of low code. So get ready to be inspired as he reveals just how far we have come on this transformative journey. Welcome to CDW, Paul.
Thank you, Misha. Thank you very much. It's great to be with everyone today. Can we get the slides up?
Yeah.
Great. Great to be with everyone today. That was a terrific introduction, Misha. Congratulations. Very, very well said. So my journey really started 14 years ago, 2010. And I was working as an analyst, and I started to see some very interesting software development tools coming out onto the market. And yeah, they looked interesting, but little did I realize that they were the herald of a revolution in how business automation is conceived, how it's built, and how it's maintained. So I was working at the time. Can we advance the slide? I was working at the time for Forrester Research, and covering software development. I'm trying to advance the slide. Covering software development, and I was working with a partner, a fellow named Clay Richardson, and we decided to dive into these new tools that we were seeing, and we needed to name them at some point. So we came up with the term low code because there was always some code needed for special integration or something, but most of the application was being done with these new low code tools. And that term today, we recognize it just galvanized a community of vendors and customers to really recognize what they were doing, and that what they were doing was really different. The most important thing, though, that Clay and I discovered in our research was that this was a trend becoming a revolution that was really about people. Sure, the technology was important, but the technology allowed a major change in the way that software was developed. It fundamentally allowed business people to become deeply involved in the way that software was conceived and built and managed, as Misha just said. I couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, few firms have really grasped the full opportunity. They're all on a low-code journey. Everyone's on a low-code journey. But few firms have really grasped the full opportunity. In a moment, you're going to hear from Shell about its successes, and Shell has been very aggressive in pursuing this revolution, but very few firms are so advanced. In fact, the situation prompted me to come out of retirement and work part-time to try to get the movement moving again. I'm associated with analysis.tech now, which is a little firm that is devoted to this problem. So revolutions are hard. Revolutions are painful. Why should we do this? I don't think we have a choice. The rise of digital business means that software must be everywhere. Software must be actually an expression of our business, whatever that business happens to be. We need deep automation of operations, all operations, and only deep involvement of business people will ensure that this is so, that we actually get a representation of the business. Now, the need starts with the labor problem. When I was at Forrester, we estimated that that just in the United States we were short about 500,000 professional developers. So the need for new software was far outstripping the professional developer labor market. So the software need is there. The labor had to come from somewhere else. And the only place it can come from really is from the business. Even service providers and colleges can't mint new software developers, new computer scientists fast enough. It has to come from the business. It has to come from business people. The problem is that business people don't speak programming languages. But low code uses language that they can understand. Pictographs, diagrams, models, actual forms, and actual UI are things that business people can understand, and they can determine whether or not what's being built is right, is really going to meet the need. And with the rise of AI, generative AI now, the tools are getting even better at helping business people express business processes and business needs. There are some tools now that actually allow a business person to say, build me an app that does X, whatever that happens to be. And that is just such a powerful and quick starting point compared to where we've been in the past. Let's see if we can move this slide. Next slide, please. One problem that I see, a big problem that I see, is that enterprise leaders usually get stuck on number 2 of the automation imperative. That is that they focus too much on tools and technology and not enough on their people. Business people are, I think, an underappreciated resource when it comes to automation. They're really smart about operations. They know how things really work, not just how they should work, but how they actually work. And they're really clever, and really a lot of business people are very capable with technology. They have real aptitude for technology. Unfortunately, these folks, as I say, are underappreciated, and I think many organizations really don't know their people well enough to know how they can contribute to the automation imperative, and even know which of their people are actually willing to take on this work, because not everyone is. The best we usually do for business people with technology aptitude, we give them credentials to 1 or 2 core applications. We give them a Microsoft Office subscription. We give them some MBOs. And then we give them our fervent hopes that they somehow succeed in advancing the business and advancing automation. And then we tell them, don't screw up. We like citizen development, frankly, until we don't like it. And the hardest change, I think, for all enterprises is to really change the culture from don't screw up to it's okay to make small mistakes as you learn, but we're going to tolerate some missteps and some mistakes because we can. It really is instilling a learning culture that's crucial to empowering business people. Next slide. So citizen development has been a reality for a long, long time. I mean, one of my partners now, Rob Koplowitz, constantly reminds me of all the citizen development that was done on Lotus Notes many, many years ago. So what's really different now? I think what's different is the opportunity to really incorporate citizen development into the digital business and the automation strategy. It's something I call integral citizen development. Frankly, tear down the walls between IT and citizen development. Stop being afraid of citizen development. It is a great opportunity for us to capitalize on to pursue our goals. I don't want to hear the term rogue IT anymore. There's no excuse for that. Citizen developers can and should be incorporated into the mainline automation strategy. That doesn't mean that the IT pros, that the professional developers go away. They don't. We need them. We need both. We need them, but we need them for different reasons. As I said earlier, every enterprise is on a journey to integral citizen development, I believe. Most of them, unfortunately, are stuck. And integral citizen development is the critical next step for them to take on their journeys. Next slide. So, how do we get citizen development right? Well, we're going to hear from Shell in a moment, who is doing a lot of things right, and we're very fortunate to have them with us. From my perspective, there's a lot to do, but there are some major categories to really think about that are crucial. First, we got to build bridges between citizen developers and central IT. Build bridges, then integrate. Bring the two development types of developers together in a unified strategy, in a mutually supporting strategy. In my experience, HR is a critical player in accomplishing this, because HR is going to help to drive the many new roles and responsibilities and relationships that are required to really get this right. Plus, you've got to have the right leader. You got to have a leader who's got the gravitas, the communication skills, the knowledge, to really help get through, particularly in the early stages, political flack, budget questions, finance questions, interorganizational cooperation that is so important. Number two, roles and responsibilities are going to change. For your citizen developers, there are going to be roles and responsibilities, distinct ones, within your citizen developer population. And those are going to be based on the applications that you decide make sense, the categories that make sense for citizen developers to tackle. So those are going to be based on each individual citizen developer's qualifications. Maybe they have taken training, maybe they haven't. Maybe they're just sort of have native aptitude based on their experience, based on the types of automation projects that you're going to decide you want citizen developers to tackle. And crucially, based on software process automation projects that you decide to tackle. Automated process is really different as a project. We're beginning to really understand that now. And there are only certain people that really have aptitude to tackle those types of projects. And then there's support. I mentioned earlier a mutually supporting relationship between central IT and citizen developers. That's really critical. But support starts, of course, with the right tools and the right platform for citizen development. It extends then to managing the full application lifecycle. Most importantly, starting with the idea. If I have an idea as a business person for an application, for a bit of automation, the first question should be, is that worth pursuing? Is it worth prioritizing? is it redundant with something we already have? And then software lifecycle management goes all the way through to deciding which projects to prioritize, building them, maintaining them, and extending them as needed, all the way through to retirement. Um, that full life cycle is an important piece of support. Help desk. What's role is your IT help desk going to play in supporting citizen development, or not play? When will it support? When will it not? That's a really critical question, particularly for the help desk guys who are already overloaded. Coaches, training, etc. All of these learning elements and support elements are important. Most of the platforms allow you to build guardrails in to help citizen developers just focus on the business problem and not have to worry, for example, about security, because there are guardrails built into the platform that will prevent them from making mistakes that compromise data privacy, for example. Rewards and recognition, very, very important, particularly in the early stage. We're going to be initially, a lot of your citizen developers are going to be doing their work because it interests them and they do it in their own time. Eventually, their job descriptions have to include the software work that they do. But initially, recognition will be really critical to prop them up, reward them, give them recognition, keep them going, to keep producing. And then lastly, as I mentioned, there will be new jobs, new roles, new career paths that probably you don't have in your portfolio today, and those will be very, very important as part of your support structure for citizen developers as well. So if we flip the slide, I'll thank you for your attention. I hope I've helped. There's a lot of work to do yet on our journeys, on our low-code journeys. But I'm confident that we can do this. We can tackle this. We just need to focus on getting to the next stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, John, for that enlightening address. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. Nonetheless, the whole CDW community, I'm sure, is immensely grateful for the invaluable contributions that you have made. Just one bit for the audience. If you have any questions for John or for Paul later, please drop them in the comments. We will have Paul and John take those up at the end of the session if time permits. Even if it doesn't, they are very kind and they will be available to answer them later. Once again, thank you so much, John. I'll see you at the Q&A session.
Thank you.
All right. Moving forward, let's shift our focus to the Citizen Development Spotlight segment. Last year, CDW was primarily about learning and theory. However, this year we are taking this up a notch by showcasing best in class LCNC platforms live in action. These platforms are at the forefront of empowering citizen developers to solve complex problems without relying on traditional IT support or extensive coding knowledge. Through live demonstrations, you'll witness firsthand how these platforms are revolutionizing the landscape of digital innovation. Moreover, I encourage everybody to look at the CDW website and take a look at the agenda for the week and sign up for all the sessions right away. All right, then. Moving ahead, I am thrilled to introduce our second keynote speaker, Mr. Paul Kobylanski, who brings a wealth of experience and vision to the stage. Paul is one of the few visionaries in the world who has truly embraced the essence of citizen development. His innovative thoughts and inspirational leadership have set the bar high for the entire citizen development community, serving as a beacon of inspiration for aspiring citizen developers worldwide. Today, Paul will delve into the strategic role of citizen development in driving innovation at scale. Welcome to the panel, Paul.
Thank you so much, Misha. And A very, very warm welcome to everybody across the world for what is going to be a tremendous week. And I have to say, it's a real privilege to be kicking off along with John and yourself, Citizen Developer Week 2024. You shared that so kindly, Misha, and I have to say, I'm in a role and I'm very privileged. I have to really thank people like John. I have to thank the other visionaries and the believers, those who really invest in the technology, the consultancies, those who invest in and their time into research to really move the needle. So to break down some of the conventional barriers that we see in and around the way in which we embrace technology and we use technology today.
Yes.
I had the privilege of leading over 4,000 citizen developers, supporting 4,000 citizen developers at Shell. And we started a number of years ago with just a subset of that within a particular asset with support from our business leaders, a leap of faith, technology that provides the handrails, the guardrails. And as John very much said, focusing on people and process and the culture alongside the technology, we've been able to scale that through an incredible array of coaches to our wonderful citizens worldwide who really inspire me and drive me on every single day. So to have the opportunity to just share what we're doing and learn from you and everybody on the call as part of this week is a real privilege.
It is our definite privilege to have you, Bob.
Fantastic. Well, I just you can see my screen. I mean, I'll get through the cautionary note and I'll just give you 2 seconds to read that and take that in. But what I want to do is really go back to who is citizen development for? And the great thing in the belief is it's for everyone. And when I was coming in and preparing for this particular event, I was actually thinking about my son who's coming up for his examinations in the UK. So he's 16 years of age, and next month his exams start, and he's doing computer science. And I was taking myself back, way back now, but to a point where I was at school or I was at university, and what was my experience like in terms of building things? I had a command prompt. I had to write lots of lines of code to get some simple things done. And it was time and investment from my side to be able to do that. A lot of time and tenacity and perseverance. But I look at the experience of my son, our sons, daughters, nieces, nephews, cousins, those that we know, and what is their experience today? And it's changing. Schools today use low code, no code technology to teach, to actually be more creative, to be able to apply themselves in new ways. And if we think about the next generation who's using this technology within their educational environment, having a modern platform to work with data to solve problems independently is going to be, Jack's expectation. He's going to want to work in a modern work environment where he's not got command prompt, but he can use an array of skills, creativity, artistry, work with data sets, and work with process to actually deliver things that have meaning. And we in our company today have been blessed with a number of people that have been on this journey, like Nikki, who started out as a firefighter in one of our assets in Canada, in emergency services, and joined one of those events around training and learning, but had a particular problem. And that problem was around managing thousands of pieces of safety equipment and doing that in what she deemed inefficient ways. She had the tenacity, she persevered, and she joined one of our events and used low code technology to digitize that process and transform the way in which that department actually did their work. And that is quite profound because then that can be replicated. But the stories don't end there. And every day I come across people like Nikki with their own stories of personal transformation. And actually, later on in the week, you'll get the opportunity to meet Stevie, who started his journey in around 2018 and actually was in a particular situation in the Gulf Coast due to a major incident related to Hurricane Ida. And at that time, people on the ground needed to make decisions quickly. People needed to have the support. And it's the people on the ground that know their business, know their process, know their data. And Stevie had the training and the skills and the know-how to actually develop a solution that helped improve the speed of the startup, the safe startup of our asset following that particular event. But even more so, that's the first and starting point for Stevie. He's then worked with data, worked with some of the maintenance processes, and alongside his teams on the ground within the asset, has persevered and has continued to deliver incremental value to the business. And actually, through that perseverance, change his career, now working within the IDT function. So you see this transferability of skill, of business knowledge. You see these barriers being broken down through the application of low-code technology. And if you look at the right, I mean, a traditional IT workforce, and let's face it, I work in a central IT center of expertise supported by the coaches working with our citizens worldwide. We only have finite number of resources. There's only so much we can do. And we prioritize our work as IT, but there's that long tail of value that we can't always get to, or we can't get to as quickly, maybe as Stevie or Nikki, or supported by that new graduate who joins the company. So we're limited, we're hampered by our ability to respond. But imagine a world where that traditional IT workforce is expanded through these citizens. And this is a very beautiful thing, but it's a very profound thing, because I found when I started my career that things were really technical, complex, overly complicated. And it's down to so many of you on this call where we're changing the language, we're making it easier to understand, to create value. And doing that, we use a simpler language, a simpler taxonomy, even one that's based on natural language. And that allows people to work together. That enables the business and the IT function to have a more common understanding, common ways of working. And what happens when you do that? You really drive business and business transformation at speed, at pace. And that's how we see it in Shell as a company. You've got two speeds. There are different models around innovation, but you're going to have those paradigm shifts, whether it is low code platform technology, whether it is around AI, or to be more specific, better large language models that allow us to interact with machines in a more human and naturally centered way. And of course, we embrace that. And as a company, we embrace that to really reimagine value chains, whether it's in and around helping our customers and our own organization through the energy transition and to decarbonize or drive automation into our assets to be more productive and to drive higher levels of safety. But on the other side, you've got this incrementalism. You've got these well springs of talent, of ingenuity. And there's many things that are around productivity. There's many things that help teams be more agile by way of delivering low-code solutions. And that's good. But in an organization that's made up of 90,000 people approximately, it's very liberating at the same time. And every so often you see some of these smaller things where we're automating, where we're taking out the paper, taking out the waste, thinking through the lean practice where things come up and develop and drive new ways, transformative ways of doing things. And these are really what we call the two speeds of transformation and innovation at Shell. But that's really an ecosystem. And I love what John talked about in terms of the role of IT. Think about the trunk of this tree, along with our technology providers, providing containerized environments where you define the boundaries and limits for your particular operation based upon your risk appetite and your business, but also providing the training and the standards and also the processes. Ideate, your first build, your iteration on that. How do you deploy? How do you look after a particular solution in line with your corporate policies? The way we see very much low code is about liberating the frontline operations first and foremost. And again, I'm privileged to see examples of this every day, every week, coming from different parts of the organization, from Australia all the way through to Argentina. A typical example in our finance operations that have been very used to working with a world of Excel and VBA macros for many, many years. A modern platform where we can better harness data. Think about the work and effort associated with processing up to 9,000 documents every single day where there's human and manual intervention. Today, it's not just around visualization and automation and app build, but pre-built models around document processing that allows us to extract information, translate language, build in technical language, do the aggregation, and let the human do the final checks and balances to make sure that everything is good before we do the actual processing. And this truly is transformational. On the other end of the scale, so you have your operations, we think about our company and the transformation and change we're going about as a company. You have new business, you have maybe your ventures, you have B2B and B2C, where again, our organization needs agility. They can't always wait for the IT department to get to a particular business group where they need to maybe develop a new process, where they need to collect information up and aggregate that to serve Shell's customers worldwide. And again, another example around this was receiving lots of information from our customers about particular products, specification, and wanting to know the carbon footprint. Maybe coming in through the phone, through human engagements, through email, collecting that information up and developing something that creates better understanding of the touch points with our customers, not dropping the ball and being able to serve them and build solutions, new solutions like that, that in the future may become an IT fully fledged product or development, but gives us that agility as a large company to be able to maneuver and work in line with our business needs. So where's this all going? Because often I get the question around AI and will AI supersede low code? Will AI take away some of this incredible journey that we've been on? And I believe it comes together. It is a 1 + 1 = 3. AI is absolutely going to further liberate citizen development. And John talked about some of those points as well. First and foremost, lowering the barriers to entry, whether you're at school, whether you're someone who's interested in a world of technology and process improvement, whether it's someone within your current workforce. What we're seeing today within and across certain products that we use is that we can start to talk to machines. We can start to tap into the estate. We can start to ask things to be built that don't look like simple templates, but look like Shell as a company that aligns with our standards, is accessible by design. We're able to use some of the bots and features to test the quality of the solutions that we build. So a new way of building is coming through natural language, and that's going to improve and continue to improve, but it's going to be a journey. We also see as a company these increases in personal and team productivity. I always ask the question because people say, will this technology replace my role? Who's not busy today? Who's not profoundly busy? I cannot buy hours. I need to get more productive myself. And some of these tools allow me to do that, as well as improving the overall team productivity. And that's really profound. That gives us the ability to shift the plane of work to a higher level overall, whether it would be in our finance, whether it be in asset, whether it be in real estate or our trading organization. It very much helps us raise the level of quality of work. It's part of an employee value proposition. And finally, around improvements of the application lifecycle, because you start with a few things and they develop, you need good governance and systems. You need to be able to interact with your system as well in natural language, which was my top used app today. How many new apps have been deployed across the enterprise? Being able to extrapolate that through your systems, but also, for example, being able to ask around a set of new personas for testing, or maybe some test harnesses that run, or maybe asking about, is this going to be accessible? Does this comply with our accessibility standards and our brand? And this again is going to allow us to move with greater speed and greater agility in terms of determining whether it's something that is of value, whether we pivot or persevere, or maybe we stop. But this is what we see as a future going into citizen development and AI. So I'm really pleased. I know we want to take one or two questions, and thank you for the opportunity today for listening to me as well and listening to Shell's journey. And I want to thank you and leave you with, one final sort of point. And that really is, in this world today that is becoming more and more complex, isn't it just wonderful and beautiful that there are people like us around the table today working in technology that just want to make things simpler and safer? And that's where we see things going. So thank you very much. I will stop here, and hopefully there's one or two questions that we, and along with John, can take. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and sharing how Shell is doing it. It was truly inspiring, Paul. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure all of that is shared today by you or John. I'm sure that the CD community is going to cherish that for a really long time. Um, so now, without any further ado, let's move into the Q&A session. Welcome back, John.
Good to be here. Great job, Paul.
Likewise, John.
All right. So the one question that we have for you, Paul, is uh, based on your numbers, CD make up about 4% of your total user base. Yours is a matured CD program. Does 4 to 5% represent a top end of CD saturation within the organization? Or is there an additional room for growth?
That's a great question. And in the early days, I used to joke with some of our business leaders that my goal is to transform everybody in the organization. So to get to 100%. But, the reality is that Forthat is a significant footprint, first and foremost. And if you think about the way in which that's positioned within our businesses and supporting our businesses, yes, we'll see some continued growth. That's for sure. We'll see some continued maturation. And it is a good metric to know in terms of how big your population is and to make sure it's manageable. Our coaches have been fundamental in this journey. But I think the other ratio, and would welcome, John, your view on this, I think is in terms of how that translates to value. So what level of investment are you putting in to your platforms, to your IT function? How much work are the 4,000 putting in? But ultimately, how much in terms of material value is it delivering to the business? So that ratio, that gearing is very much an important one for us. But I hope when we come back together in a year's time, that number's increased and we're making further inroads. Again, just recognizing also the different roles that our business people have, and also that we've got a sizable IT group centrally that supports as well. So you look at the true technicality of the makeup, it's probably much larger. But John, what do you think about this question?
I wonder, Paul. We are becoming more and more sophisticated every year in our use of technology. And you talk about your 16-year-old son. His children will presumably be even smarter, and there will be even more people for whom technology is a natural part of the way they live, the way they work, etc. And I wonder if we just will follow that curve over time, and the 4 to 5% today maybe just represents the percentage of people who really want to do this work and are really capable of doing it, but that percentage is not going to be fixed over time.
I agree, John, and I think also we're talking about a couple of platforms here and a percentage. We have a significant central IT organizations that, and let's recognize as well, I mean, low code technology is going to pervade across many systems. So, it says 5%, but of course we've got our business people using a plethora of technologies across the company for engineering and trading. So the footprint is certainly much broader than 4 or 5%. But I think what we'll see is a continued development of low code and the infusion of AI into different and the many platforms that's used across the company. So it's certainly much broader today, and hopefully becomes more natural in terms of that affinity between business and IT in the future. We're certainly seeing that. Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to put a hard stop at this session. Um, as we wrap today's sessions, I just want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Paul and John for joining us today and for sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us. Um,
Privilege.
before
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we finish today, let's take a moment to reflect on the insights that are shared today. Let's carry that inspiration forward as we continue our quest for innovation and progress this week. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I cannot wait to see you all in the upcoming sessions. Thank you.
Have a great week.